This is Sky Blues Extra.
Hello and welcome to Sky Blues Extra Live. We're here again to go through another fixture, and today's fixture was Brentford away from home. I'm joined by a new face today. You may know his name, but not his face. I'm joined by Ross Samuel. Hi, Ross.
Hello, David. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thanks. And Ross does a lot of our memory lane posts that we put out every sort of Wednesday or Thursday. Looking forward to the games, which was obviously Brentford this week. Not a fixture that we probably expected to get much from, Ross, and that was the case.
No, I don't think today's particular game will be one of the ones I picked for memorable matches in any of the near future. But no, it was obviously a tough game. I think on paper, Bournemouth and Brentford today were two games that we'd have taken anything from. But it was a disappointing game, wasn't it, for the vast majority of the game today?
It was. I think it had that feeling a little bit again that we're a bit caught in headlights, and also I think I feel that we stood off them and respected them a bit too much, which I think we were guilty at times against Bournemouth.
Yeah, 100%. I was watching the game today, and I just thought we waited until we were 2-0 down before we started playing, and I just thought if we had showed that sort of confidence on the ball from the start, then we'd have been in the game a lot more. I mean, you can't afford to go 2-0 down away at Brentford and then start playing and hope to get back in the game. We had a couple of half chances, didn't we? But I agree. It was like men against boys in the first half. I just thought they just sliced through us far too easy.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to come on in a second into the team lineup. Actually, we'll bring that in. But it was a bit strange, wasn't it? Do you think it was bold by Robins, or do you think he was forced to sort of make that decision?
Well, we spoke beforehand, didn't we? And I'd spoke to a couple of friends who are commentary fans, and I felt like we needed a change of shape. And I actually wanted two up top, which is what he went for. So, and obviously it just didn't work at all. So it shows how much I know. But I just thought, I've read things about Dabo, different circumstances, and I don't know why Walker wasn't in the squad. I'm not entirely sure about that. There's a few surprises, wasn't there, on the bench and people missing. But I felt like he tried something, and it didn't work. So then we reverted back to how we normally play, and that's when we suddenly came into our own again, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just going to bring up the lineup now, Ross, and let's have a little look at this. I'd say some of the big shocks in there was probably the middle of the park, really. Not very defensive, is it, when you're playing a three in the middle?
No, obviously Hamer is the first of his 3-match suspension, isn't it? And I was surprised that Kelly wasn't starting. That was the one I was really surprised about, to be honest.
Do you think he may not be fully fit? But it seems odd then to have. I'm a big believer if we've got fit players, and then you've got sort of half fit players. Why are they getting on the bench ahead? So to me, unless you're raring to go, I'm not saying you can be 100% match fit, but. For me, I'd like to see them players, if they're either fit or they're not, and if they are, they should be starting.
Well, I agree. I think, from everything Robin said, it sounded like he had just a little knock in the week, but he trained Thursday and yesterday, and I'd have loved to have seen Kelly. I'd have put a lot of money on it being Sheaf and Kelly, sitting in that defensive two. And obviously, when I saw Allen and Sheaf, I just didn't feel there was very much protection, for the back three. And so it proved in the first first half an hour. I thought we were lucky that we went 3 or 4-0 down, to be honest.
And you touched on the obviously Dabo not playing today. Pass come in. What did you make of Pass' performance? And did you think it was all a little bit much for him again?
I thought, I actually thought in the first half, in the last 10 minutes, he got into some really good positions. And I think if we'd had Dabo in those positions, we may well have actually, created a clear-cut chance or scored. I just thought it was a couple of times his touch was so heavy. And when he was running with the ball, he just looked a bit aimless to me, and I felt like McCallum looked a lot more assured, when he came on at right wing back than Pask did. So I feel like we missed Dabo, but I thought McCallum did a decent job when he came on.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously up top, another bit of a surprise, really. We know that Max Biamu, as a lot of the Sky Blues faithful have been wondering why he's been kept out. We don't know the surroundings around Walker and why he perhaps wasn't even in the squad today. You'd have to expect that he's injured or of some kind. But Bakayoko, back up front, back up for the Sky Blues. Was that a decision that you expected Robbins to be making today?
Probably not. Although in my head, I did actually want to sort of see him given some minutes because he's not come on at all, has he, this season? You know, he was obviously an unused sub in all the rest of the sort of league games. So I felt like it could have worked. I felt like actually having that two up top. You know, we spoke pre-match, David, and I thought sometimes having two up top, someone near Godden, you know, and O'Hare behind might help. And actually, but the midfield too, Allen and Sheaf, we just couldn't seem to put more than a couple of passes together. So then we just never gave them any service to Baka, and then he didn't do a lot really. And I think when push came to shove, when he was bringing Shipley on, he was always going to leave Godden because he's the goal scorer. I guess he was always going to leave him on. So yeah, it was. I'd have loved to have seen Biamu given a go. I'm a big Biamu fan. You know, because I just feel like, you know, he could have scored a goal out of nothing, couldn't he? And he puts himself about a bit. And I just felt like I feel like in the last couple of games, we've just been a bit too nice to teams. You know, we just let them run past us and we don't sort of put ourselves about enough.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a tough fixture. I think it was always going to be hard to go to Brentford. I'm going to bring in some comments actually now, Ross. And we've got one here from Dean, who usually obviously is hosting with me. He said Kelly has to play if he's in the squad. Totally agree that he's on the bench. He would be fine to play. Exactly what we said. He is instrumental, isn't he, Kelly? He just gives you that older sort of head and perhaps gives you that experience in the midfield and takes the pressure off a little bit. I think it's a bit young shoulders today. Sheaf and Allen, not really defensive midfielder, probably is where it went wrong in parts.
Yeah, there was just no leaders, was there? You've got fads at the back, but we missed someone to sort of just calm everybody down and, you know, talk. I didn't see Sheaf or Allen talking to people around them, you know, and sort of telling them what to do. And I feel like Kelly, we're a better team with Kelly in the team. I said it last season, even when we had Walsh and he was brilliant. When it was just Walsh and say Westbrook and Kelly was injured, we still weren't quite as good. We weren't as solid. I feel people underestimate Kelly. You know, when we got promoted, people think, oh, you know, the Championship will find him out, if you like. But again, I would have him in our team, hands down, 100%. I think just as he's a safe pair of hands.
Yeah, we've got another comment here, and I want to find out from you what you think about Ben Sheaf's performance today. Let's just bring this one in. He's put it's Nigel Woodcock. He's commented a lot actually, and we thank all of our followers for their comments. But Sheaf hasn't impressed me at all yet. I was expecting a bit more from him. Hopefully, he grows into it, but that needs to happen sooner rather than later. What did you make of his performance today?
I will have to agree with that. I think for the first 65 minutes, I thought he was really poor. I did think he was really poor. I felt like he wanted so much time on the ball, you know, in areas. There was a chance where I think Ivan Toney had that long range effort and Morosi sort of did that big diving save. And that all led from Sheaf just wanting to play, you know, ridiculous passes and take so long on the ball. I agree with that comment. I hope he grows into it. And obviously it sounded like we were pursuing him for weeks on end, you know, as a transfer target. And, but no, I thought he was poor today. And I felt like him and Allen there was times where they just got bypassed those two sort of on the edge of their own box. And suddenly they had like 40, 50 yards of just open space just to run at our back three. And I just thought, I thought he had a poor game. I did think he was poor today.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just going to bring in this comment here lastly before we've got a guest actually waiting to come on that we'll have a chat with. But Ashley Nesbitt, no Walker is a bit of a worry. There's already some comments here saying that possibly he's self-isolating. So I'm not sure if that's completely true yet, but if it is, that's not great, is it? If it's 14 days, that's a bit of a worry. Swansea on Tuesday night.
Well, exactly. I mean, if it is that, then obviously you'd imagine you'd be out of Tuesday night, or it's an injury. I don't know which one, depending on the severity of that could be even longer than, I guess, the 14 days, or it could be, I mean, you'd imagine even if he was fit at all, he'd have been on the bench, don't you?
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
I think it is a bit of a concern, and because you immediately just think, because he's got a bit. He impressed me against Barnsley a couple of weeks ago when he came on. I know some people thought he didn't do a lot, but I actually thought he won a few headers, and I thought he played quite well. So I feel like when I didn't see him, I thought, where's our other goal scorer? He's supposed to be the goal scorer, isn't he?
Yeah, no, exactly. It does look like that's confirmed, actually, that Robbins has said after the game that he is self-isolating. So that's a bit of a blow for Tuesday night. I'm going to bring Mark in now, Ross. He actually joined us on the last live and added some really good comments. We'll ask Mark what he thought of the game in a second.
Hello.
Hi, Mark. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me fine?
Yeah, brilliant. And Mark, another loss, unfortunately, for the Sky Blues in the Championship. Brentford were probably close last season to actually getting promoted themselves and have a lot of quality in there. But regardless of that quality, do you think the Sky Blues showed enough today?
I think first half, well, most of the first half we were second best. I think we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. I think we got absolutely outrun in midfield. I think I go along with what Ross was saying about Sheaf. I don't know, we felt like we're being overrun in midfield, and they just played through us quite easily, like knife going through butter sort of thing. It was just, it was very very frustrating. It was painful to watch a bit. But actually, last 10-15 minutes, the first half, we actually came back into the game a bit, and we looked a bit more threatening. But second half, a bit of a sucker punch with Tony's goal, possibly an offside. It looked suspiciously offside. Obviously, we haven't got the side on view to see exactly, but it looked suspiciously offside. And the second goal, Tony got in between our two defenders, and it was an easy header, really. So, after that, when we started to play, but at this level, you can't start to play when you're 2-0 down. You're chasing the game.
No, exactly.
Mark,
what did you think of his lineup and his decisions? Were you happy to see Bakayoko back in the squad? Did you think it was odd that Allen was partnering the midfield with Sheaf? Were there any other options perhaps for Mark Robbins and maybe his force? What did you think of that lineup today?
I mean, I was speaking with my friends on Facebook. I know quite well. I would have had Kelly starting personally, because I felt this was sort of game you needed somebody. Particularly with Hamer suspended, you need somebody who just being a bit calmness to play. And Kelly does that. His distribution is really good. I mean, one or two people are saying, well, he's been injured and he might come for 20 minutes, but that's not good enough. At the end of the day, if you're on the bench, you've got to be fit to play. When called upon, that's in my opinion, that's ridiculous. I think in terms of up front, I wouldn't have started with Bakayoko. I'd have gone with Biamu. But however, the problem with the Biamu one is he hasn't had any game time, so he's going to be quite rusty. So
coming into the Championship level.
Yeah, and I think I guess Robinson's hands was tied a bit, so he had to go with Baka. But I mean, personally, I think Biamu offers you more. He's physical. He's got a bit more pace. Bakayoko just looks off the pace today. He just looks a little bit out of his depth at the moment. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of him. I think he didn't do enough today for me.
Okay.
I thought Godden.
He was feeding on scraps again, Godden, wasn't he? He didn't have any sort of service, and he did put himself about, and obviously hit the bar, was unlucky, looked like it was on the line, and unfortunately not over. But I think he was again feeding on scraps.
Yeah, I think he was. I mean, I actually thought he'd done as well as he could. To be honest, I can't criticise him at all. I thought could have done a bit of luck there. That could have come off the bar into the net. But I think he's done really well. I actually thought, I think McFadsinger probably was one of our better players today. You could argue he was at fault for him and Rose were at fault maybe for the second goal, but he made some really important challenges in the first half. I thought Morosi had a good game. I just think the problem area for us in midfield, teams are playing through us too easily, and I think the frustrating thing watching the games so far this season, we seem to only start to play kind of second half. There's too many games where we're like, teams are getting on top too easy in the first half, and we just don't assert ourselves in the game.
Yeah,
I think it's fair enough when people say, "Well, it's our first season." 2 seasons, couple of seasons back, we're in League Two. I take that, but I think we need. I think we're not good at the moment at playing through the press. You could see that, when Brentford put us under pressure, we looked a bit hesitant, a bit slow on the ball.
yeah. Mark, who was your man of the match for the Sky Blues today? Who do you think stuck out, if any? Who can get on that coach this afternoon and with their head held high? Is there anyone for you?
I think the toss-up between Morosi and McFadzean, I think.
Yeah, Morosi kept us in the game, didn't he, a few times?
He made some really good saves, and Oggy on the commentary was praising him as well. He made 2 real good saves. I'd probably Morosi edged it for me over McFadzean, only because, and my only criticism of McFadzean was the second goal. Both defenders just got caught in between. It was, to be fair, it was a good cross, and Tony puts it away well, but it's a bit disappointing. But I can't be critical of his performance. I thought he'd done okay.
Mark Robbins is obviously now got a bit of a decision to make on Tuesday. What would your sort of changes be, if any, from today's starting lineup? Swansea, it's a tough fixture.
It is, but I think they lost to Huddersfield today. I think so. They're not invincible. No, I don't think you can go any game and believe that. I think the changes I would make, I'd like to see Kelly come in. I think for a start, I think we need somebody with a cool head in midfield. I'd like to see Biame start, and to be honest with you, I don't think Biame would do a lot worse than Bakayoko. I thought Bakayoko today was really disappointing, to be honest. So that's probably the 2 changes I'd make.
Sure.
So I'd probably drop Sheaf and put Kelly in for me.
Brilliant. Mark, thanks again for coming on. We appreciate it. And let's hope 1 week when you're on, we've managed to get a win. But once again, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Cheers. Cheers. Bye. Cheers.
And there we go. So, do get involved with Sky Blues Extra Live. Make sure you put your comments. You can leave that in the chat, either on whatever platform you're watching on, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. But Ross, let's just have a quick look now at the stats from today's game. And they do make for a little bit of grim reading. Ivan Toney obviously had a superb game, but that attempts on target against is just huge, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I also think in the first half they showed up the graphic, and I think Brentford had 12 shots to 0 after around 25 minutes.
Yeah,
so I think it was. So in overall the grand scheme of things, it just highlights how poor that opening sort of half an hour of the game was. I just think we just didn't get going, did we? Until the sort of 2-0 down, the last 25 minutes, half an hour, and that's too late to do that in any game. But obviously, Ivan Toney, like you say, he had a good day. He probably would be disappointed he didn't score in the first 20 minutes. There was a couple of efforts, didn't he, which he hit wide, and he had a few chances. So, you look at those stats, and I think there's a lot we can learn from these last couple of games in particular.
Yeah, exactly. Followers, get your comments in about what you think about the game. Who is your man of the match? Who did you think played the best for the Sky Blues today? And what changes would you make before Swansea if you were Mark Robbins? Ross, one thing I want to highlight, and we've talked about this before on the podcast and also on Sky Blues Extra Live, the fouls against. Now, Brentford, again, bit like Bournemouth, did break up the play when they needed to. There was a time when Allen got free, probably one of the only times that he got free in the game, and he was brought down to halt that run. Do you think we need to be doing a bit of similar? And we didn't really have anyone in there to do that today, did we?
No, well, 100%. I think the last game against Bournemouth, obviously we didn't play very well, but they were smart, weren't they? They knew what they were doing. They took it in turns. They rotated the fouls between their players. So then no one really got booked because they sort of shared the fouls around. And as you can see, again, almost over double the fouls Brentford committed. And I think we are too nice. I said it earlier. I think
we've all watched that documentary with Mourinho, haven't we? Does
exactly.
is that what we need? Mark Robbins to come in and tell them that they need to be bar stewards?
I feel like Kelly would do that. I feel like
Yeah.
we just haven't got that. We haven't got that streetwise nature yet. You know, like you said, Alan got free, and that was the one time in the first half when actually he was one good through ball away from Godden being in for what would be a clear cut chance, and they fouled him. They took the foul, and then the attack was over. But we just seemed to every time they cut through us, like Mark was saying, like a knife through butter. No one was there breaking up the play. No one was taking a foul or breaking up the game. Everything just felt a bit too sort of smooth for Brentford to play.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to see if we can take some positives out of the game. Just getting a comment here from Richard Overson, who obviously joined us actually on the Sky Blues Extra podcast not that long ago. And if you haven't listened to that, do make sure you give it a listen. Really interesting one. But he mentioned that we started badly, but the last 20 minutes we showed we can compete. We did really pick it up, didn't we, in the last sort of 20 minutes or so. Do you think that was Brentford allowing us to have the ball and inviting us on, or do you think it was just that we were relaxed enough to actually start playing football? Because there was some nice, triangles and ones and twos and whatnot.
Probably a bit of both, actually. Oggy said in his commentary, he said that Gordon Strachan used to say it's a lot easier to play when you're down. It's difficult.
Less than ideal.
Yeah, exactly. It's not ideal. And I feel like yes, we did play a lot better. Last 20 minutes, we did show we can compete, but for me, it was too late. 2-0. The second goal kills the game. Of course, if Godden scores when he hits the crossbar, I actually think we could have got an equaliser, just the way we were putting the pressure on. But I think it was a bit of combination. I think they sat back. They had a 2-goal lead. They probably fancied themselves to hold out. And they probably they thought, we fancy our chances of holding out and potentially hitting Coventry on the break. As it happened, they held out, and that's how the game finished. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, David? Do you think?
Yeah, I think it can be one of those where they're not inviting pressure on, but they're happy for you to have the ball in and around the midfield a little bit more. But at the same time, I do think that there was some, O'Hare definitely for me, his game picked up. He made again some uncharacteristic sloppy passes in the final third today for me, and that do they look like a team low in confidence? We get told all the time of how good the team spirit is, and I hope that's not the case, and I'm sure it isn't, but it's going to take its toll. I do worry now that we lose today. If we don't get a result at Swansea, you start to slip down. It's very early doors, but you start to slip in those relegation places, and they're difficult places to get out of, aren't they? Because regardless of how many games played, you're physically seeing yourself in those relegation places, and that's going to weigh heavy on the team's mind, isn't it?
Well, exactly. I feel like we almost just look like we feel a bit sorry for ourselves,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I agree. You hear all the time, and on the Sky Blue Extra podcast, Michael Rose and Godden saying how incredible the team spirit is, and I believe that 100%. But
same.
You just watch the first half, and you just sort of, or the first half an hour especially, and it's almost just like we're not even doing any of the stuff we did in League One. Now, I understand it's a step up, but we did get pressed in League One. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like it was like we're talking about Sunday League. Do you know what I mean? It was only the division, and we certainly it seems to have lost all ability to be able to play more than, well, in the first half at least, more than two passes. Morosi would knock it out to Hyam, and then he had no options, and I just thought, what did we do last year? Do you know what I mean? Like, where's I understand there'll be better defenders and that, they'll press us more. But then I think the positive to take is the last 20, 25 minutes that actually, instead of we could have just sat back and conceded a third and felt sorry for ourselves. But actually we had a go. So I think that did probably highlight the team spirit. But like you say, it is early days. And I think for the fans, getting another win on the board is crucial, I think, in the next couple of games.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just going to bring a comment here. Tom Saunders, I think we are missing Hamer. Your thoughts on this? I mean, it's a tough one. It's a big blow. We've got to get used to life without him, haven't we?
Well, he's going to miss another 2 games. So Swansea and Blackburn, we won't have him. So I guess it's one of those. I felt like we missed him from set piece deliveries. We had 4 or 5 corners in the second half.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one thing actually all season. I felt like we've looked like scoring from a set piece, whether it's been Ostergaard in previous games. Obviously, Fad scored against QPR, the winner. I felt like today we didn't really do much from set pieces. There was a couple of wasted free kicks as well by Sheaf in the first half. So I felt like we missed that. But like, as you say, David, we haven't got him for 2 more games. There's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
I think Kelly has to come in. I agree with Mark. I think I'd be shocked if he is not starting on Tuesday night.
Let's have a look at some of the scores from around the grounds and some interesting ones there. I'm not sure how well you can see that. I'm sort of squinting a little bit as well. But Barnsley picked up a draw against Bristol City. I think they were actually leading that game. Birmingham City, Sheffield Wednesday picking up more points, eating at that deduction, of course, that they had. Blackburn Rovers beaten by Nottingham Forest. That's their first win of the season. Some others that stick out there. We've got Huddersfield Town that beat Swansea, who we obviously play on Tuesday night. And poor old Wycombe Wanderers were actually leading that game 1-0 and pegged back to 2-1 by Millwall. The results since the start of the Championship season have been pretty eclectic, haven't they?
Well, exactly. I think I think last week we played a team in Bournemouth who are going to be up there, and you could probably say the same for today. I think at the start when the fixtures came out, we looked at Bournemouth and Brentford, and you're thinking that could be 2 defeats realistically, and so it's proved. But there's a lot of teams. I think there's a big group of teams where, like that QPR game, they're on a bit of a knife edge, and we need to try and get more of them go our way, than go against us. Wycombe losing. I mean, I liked Wycombe until this summer, and then their admin on Twitter just goes on and on about being in the Championship, setting themselves up for this massive fall. And so I actually can't say I have that much sympathy, at all. I did like them, and then I just thought they just whoever's in control of their Twitter. I just thought he does my head in on it really. But Sheffield Wednesday, the thing I wanted to point about that is I've got a friend who's a Sheffield Wednesday fan. They're now on -4 points.
Yeah.
And when you're on -4, I think that actually if they win the next game, they're then within literally
pretty much there. Distance. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you got to look at them and think, well, I actually think they'll be fine. I personally think, I said at the start of the season, I think they'll be 15th, 16th, but you want to sort of be on 6, 7, 8 points. Do you know what I mean? By the time they get to 0, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, especially if you are a Wycombe fan, because then, they'd have had that 12-point, head start on them. So I think it'll be interesting. Forest winning again. I thought new manager, wasn't it? Chris Hughton's first game.
Yeah.
So, and then like Mark said,
one for the accumulators that they always seem to come off, don't they?
Yeah, I know. I actually had Wycombe to win to tempt fate, and they lost. So but in mind. But no, and then Swansea losing, so that they're going to want to bounce back on Tuesday. So no game's easy. I think that is the biggest difference. In League One, you could look at games and go, "Oh, we're at Rochdale or whatever," and you think, oh, "Okay, yeah, we should win this game." And we won a lot of games last year without even having to get into sort of third gear, really.
Yeah.
Whereas this season, we can't afford to do that. And I feel like today we spent most of the game in reverse. And then eventually we try to start playing, and it's too late by then.
Yeah, exactly. Just bringing in a comment here from Glenn. Recruitment being found out. Sheaf is out of his depth again. With the transfer window this season, the Sky Blues fans were actually, really positive, weren't they? It seemed like a really good summer of recruitment. And although we haven't made any last minute, bringing anyone in, there was a possibility that Biamu was possibly on his way out, but that didn't come to fruition. But we didn't bring anyone in, which people saying that possibly we should have, being that players are going to be out for 4, 5, 6 weeks perhaps. And obviously Amer, you can't protect, bring in a player because someone's had to send him off. But there's still probably, do you think we've got enough squad depth? And also, do you think the recruitment, is there anyone that perhaps, we just haven't, did we do enough recruitment, or did we do the right ones?
I thought about this quite a lot, actually. The one which gets me, and I really want him to play because he's a new signing, is Hilsner.
Yeah. Okay.
He's the one where it's like, well, we basically got rid of Westbrook and we brought in Sheaf and Hilsner, because I never felt Westbrook was he wasn't an out and out sort of attacking player, and he wasn't an out and out defensive player. So then I felt like, oh, well, we've got Sheaf in, you got Hamer in. And then Hilsner's the one where it's like, obviously he's had these asthma problems, wasn't it, Robin?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I thought this 2-week international break would hopefully get him up to speed. He played yesterday, didn't he? In the under-23s game. But he's one where I sort of just go, is he going to be
throw him in? Yeah.
But like, could he could he do any worse? Really? Do you know what I mean? Like even for 20 minutes, put him on because he's supposed to be a creative attacking player. And your worry is, and people said it. I remember in preseason, I always thought it was too early, but they said, "Oh, is he going to be Castaneer 2.0 basically?" And I against Swindon, in the friendly, I thought it's way too early to say this, but we're a few months down the line, and I'm like, he's not even got onto the bench.
Yeah.
And so I start having to wonder, is it his fitness or is he actually maybe not good enough for what Robbins thinks?
Yeah.
And then the other one, I think O'Hare was brilliant business. He's looked probably out.
Yeah, of course. Most creative player, isn't he? Yeah.
I think frustratingly for Robbins, I don't think, and for us, we've not seen Kelly and Hamer. I think that was always our banking to midfield, but Kelly got into against Bristol.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I feel like Walker's a great signing. I just feel like having that massive gap took its toll. You're not always going to get all the transfers right, but I just want to see this Hillsner. I just want to see him play, just so I can make a judgment.
Yeah. Of course, Brentford boy, actually, previously, Zane Westbrook. Without going out over old ground, do you think now Robbins will be ruined letting Zane go? Because today we missed someone that could perhaps spray the ball around, and that would usually be Amer, of course. But we didn't really have anyone in there that could do that. And actually, when you look through the bench, Shipley probably is just sat off the strikers and perhaps isn't the player that will be able to fizz balls around. And I think Westbrook possibly gave us that. Do you think Mark Robbins will be ruined the fact that he let him go out now?
I don't know, actually. Potentially. I like Westbrook, but I always just felt like sometimes he was a bit of a passenger in games. I felt. I feel like today he would have got overrun exactly the same as Alan, because the problem is we didn't have the ball, though. That was the problem. In the first half an hour, I feel like you'd like to think, we've heard that Sheaf's got this great passing ability, but we never had the ball to really. I feel like, and I have to give credit to Shipley, actually, because I thought, he didn't have a great game against Bournemouth, but I thought he came on today, and actually I thought he played quite well. I thought he did some nice little intricate passes, and that was more like the Jordan Shipley we know. I just think, I'd have just played Kelly, because I think Kelly's a better passer than we give him credit for.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of fans just see him as this sort of, tough tackling, do the dirty business. But I think Kelly can play. And I think maybe having someone like Kelly just to sit there might allow him to be a bit more expressive. I don't know.
Yeah, Sky Blues fans, get in touch with us. You can do that on Twitter by using the hashtag Sky Blues Extra Live, or on the platform that you're watching us from. Just pop a note in the chat. Let us know what you would do on Tuesday night if you were Mark Robbins going now to against Swansea. Obviously, Bakayoko came into the fold this afternoon. Would you continue with Bakayoko leading the line with Godden, or would you change that to up top? Let us know in the comments what you do. It'd be interesting to find out your views. But it's going to be another tough fixture, isn't it? Another team that sneaked into the playoffs at the end of the season last year, Swansea, and were unfortunately knocked out, similar to Brentford. But again, another tough fixture on Tuesday night, and they're coming thick and fast as well. Is that a fixture that you're worried about, or do you think we can, move on from today and get something out of it?
I agree, David. I think it's a game which, if we play well, if we actually show confidence from the start, I think we could win the game. But again, if we're off it and we don't start in the Championship, we could be behind 2-0 again. And I think it's one of those. And you see not only us last season as well. You see teams go on ridiculous winless runs in the Championship. I think it's very easy to lose games. And the problem is, like you say, you don't want to lose on Tuesday and then go into Blackburn thinking, well, if we lose this, we've lost 4 on the trot, and then suddenly it becomes a bit of a run. And I think that a bit of a rut to try and get out of. So is it a game I think we can win? I do. I don't think Swansea are as good as Bournemouth and Brentford.
Sure. But Reece Small, Ross, has said he would play Shipley instead of Allen. Allen hasn't done much since he's been given his chance. Shipley is in a more advanced role. It'll be interesting to see if Kelly is fit for Tuesday. I think rather than interesting, it's important that Kelly is fit for Tuesday, as we said. But hopefully he is. But Allen, versus Shipley. I just mentioned Shipley is probably better in that advanced role. Reece seems to think exactly the same. Probably gives us some balance where O'Hare is right-footed and Shipley's left. Does that give us a bit more balance in that advancement on the pitch? What's your thoughts on that, Shipley and Allen?
A bit of a tough one, isn't it, actually? Because I thought against Bournemouth, as I say, I didn't think Shipley played very well, and he started. Allen started today and didn't particularly do that great. So, just on that point you said about recruitment, actually, that I guess the point I was almost forgot to make was I feel like we're missing a cam. I feel like we could do with another attacking midfielder option.
Yeah.
Because if Allen and Shipley are out of form and Hilson's nowhere to be seen, we haven't got anybody else.
Yeah.
Gibello, you got these players coming back. Do you think?
Yeah, I think Gibello is someone that could give us an option. I'm not sure he'd be comfortable playing behind the sort of back, But today, I think maybe he would have been, possibly. It's a very tough one, isn't it? He is really an out and out right winger, but. But is he? Can he? We saw today that McCallum obviously transferred himself over. He was on the right hand side, wasn't he? I think that will be a change that you'll see on Tuesday night, because I think that McCallum's physical and not that Pask isn't quick, but I think that's a change that you'll definitely see Tuesday night. Just because I think Robbins will feel it's a bit more assured. Pask didn't really play in League One. For the Sky Blues, and now he's playing at Championship level. McCallum obviously had a fantastic campaign with the Sky Blues before he made the sign into Norwich. So I think that's something that you might see, even though he's naturally left-footed. I think you might see that on the right-hand side. All being well that Dabo is back, we don't know what that injury is. Potentially, it sounds like a hamstring, but we're not entirely sure. But yeah, Gibello, it's a tough one, isn't it? Where does he fit in once he is fit? And it's going to take him a long time.
Well, exactly. And then it sort of it makes you just even sort of curse the Jody Jones injury.
Of course.
More.
Yeah.
I feel like he is, for me, I'd have O'Hare and Jody Jones behind Godden. Someone who can dribble the ball,
and make things happen.
I thought in pre-season he scored a couple of really good goals, didn't he? Against
looked confident on the ball.
He looked confident. So that was obviously heartbreaking, I think, for him and everyone. And then the other one is Will Bapaga. He's the other sort of person who you go, actually, could he be someone who we put in that attacking position?
Yeah, I'm just going to bring, not to go over old ground, but going to bring the lineup again and just look at that bench, actually. Bearing in mind if Robbins on Tuesday at home to Swansea does go with a similar setup, I think McCallum will probably come into the fold. Kelly, you hope, will come in, and that will probably mean that either Allen perhaps will probably drop out, I would imagine, for him. But yeah, Will Bahaga isn't fit. Obviously, that looks probably the most likely of teams again, doesn't it now? Because we now know that Walker is self-isolating. It looks like that's probably going to be very similar. So the changes that we've laid out there probably are likely to be the ones that happen.
And I think McCallum will definitely play, but I actually think he could be brought in at left back if Dabo's fit. Or if Dabo's available, I think he'll bring McCallum in on the left, even if Dabo's fit. Or
so you think he'll drop Giles?
I think so. Yeah. I think McCallum defensively. I mean, look at the first goal. Giles slips, and I just thought it took him an age to get back to his feet.
Yeah.
The ball comes in. I just feel, obviously, if Dabo can't play, I agree. I think McCallum at right wing back. If not, I think you'll put McCallum on the left and have Dabo on the right, like last season, I think.
As we said, Sky Blues fans, let us know your thoughts. It'd be really interesting to know. It's a big fixture again for the Sky Blues, who've got a great record at St Andrews, of course, and we're hoping that they're going to be a lot more resilient than perhaps they showed again today. We've got a comment here from Nathan. This is an interesting one. I would prefer even Castaneer over Pask. We don't know if Castaneer can play right back. What we do know about Castaneer's defensive abilities is what he showed perhaps in the away 3-3 draw last season against Portsmouth, which probably wouldn't give you the most of optimism, would it? But what you could see it, couldn't you? He's got really good feet. He's strong. He's powerful. Arguably much more stronger than Pask and as quick. Could you see Castaneer at right wing back?
Well, he actually brought him on, didn't he, in the second game against Peterborough?
Yeah,
he beat the defender and whipped in that beautiful cross.
Well, yeah, and everyone went, "Whoa!"
Everyone thought,
it was
this is it, the second coming of Castaneer.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, whenever I hear his name, me and my friends, I just laugh. Like I just see him as like this comedy character now. I don't even I just find him sort of think. I almost wanted him to come on today just to slide tackle it into the net or something. You don't know what he's going to do, but. Maybe he could do a job there because I think one thing I have noticed this season, I feel like our wing backs haven't been that defensive.
No,
And the question I wanted to ask you, David, actually, I was just thinking about it was obviously I expected Rose to come in today. Where do you
who had a fantastic game? I think one player, if I think will make a step up to the championship and is championship level is Rose. His ball playing ability is just second to none. There was a time today, it's one of these things for defenders that goes unnoticed. And there was a pass today that he switched it back into the middle of the park into Sheaf's feet. And what that did was just alleviate all pressure. If we'd have gone out the other way, out the same side, back into the right-hand side, wing back, it would have just piled that pressure onto us. And he just switched it, into the middle. And I think Michael Rose is someone that has got a really, really big future in football. And I would be worried that, perhaps, it's great that we've got him on a longer-term contract because I think that it could be a player that if we do slip down the league, or even if we don't, challenge sort of mid-table, which it doesn't overly look like we're going to do, then I think there'll be a lot of people circling around for him come the end of the season.
I agree. Who do you see as our the strongest back three with Ostergaard? Do you see Ostergaard potentially playing on the left instead of Hyam? Who do you see losing their place in the strongest, back three?
It's very, very difficult because I think what McFadzean gives you in experience and leader and picking the team up by the scruff of the neck and saying we don't concede, we don't do this. And it would be a fairly young back line in the championship with Hyam, Rose, Ostergaard. But I probably feel like they're probably our strongest. But I feel, unfortunately, without McFadzean being the glue that holds it together. So I think it is a matter of Rose or Hyam that possibly misses out. And Ostergaard, you'd expect to probably start. Likely today, it's probably after the fact that he played in the internationals and perhaps had a tough fixture there, and that's why he didn't play today. But it's a very interesting one. Sky Blues fans, like Ross said, he's interested to know who you think is, the best defensive partnership that we have, and that doesn't just go for the three in the middle. It would be interesting to know what would you do with the right and left wing backs as well. Would you bring McCallum in for Giles? Would you bring Castaneer in for Pask or Dabo cover? It's an interesting thought, but I think luckily defensively is probably the positions that we're not lacking in, and that's probably a good thing, being that defenders look like they can be called into action a lot this season.
Well, exactly, and then you got Da Costa's coming back, who seems ahead of schedule as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's definitely options, isn't there? I mean, because I at the start of the season thought Pass could potentially be someone who gets himself into that sort of back three. Before we signed Ostergaard, I thought he could potentially be that right centre back. I agree with you about Rose, and I don't think Hyam's done anything overly wrong at all. But I thought I agree. I think Fads has probably been our best player of the season over all the games. I think so. I think he's undroppable at this point. At Fads at the moment, I just feel like we need to take the game to the opposition. I feel like in the last couple of games we sort of started and wanted to get a foothold in the game just by letting some of the game go, and we find ourselves behind. And then you got a mountain to climb, haven't you? Then
Well, prepare your questions, Ross, because we've got Glenn who's just about to join us, and he's a regular on our Twitter page and always talking to us at Sky Blues Extra. So we're going to bring Glenn in now. Glenn, how are you doing, mate? It seems like Glenn might be having some issues slightly. Can you hear us now, Glenn? No, he's gone. That was short-lived, wasn't it? So save those questions for anyone else that perhaps comes online. And all you need to do is it's very simple. We've put the link in Facebook, and we'll put it back up in a minute. We'll try one more time with Glenn, but it does seem like he's having a few issues. Let's see if we can bring Glenn in and see if it works. Glenn, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. How are you guys?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, not too bad, Glenn. Obviously disappointed with the fixture there, but what did you make of today's fixture? Who sort of stood out for you, and was there anyone that you were disappointed with, and what would you perhaps do going forward for Tuesday?
I only really caught bits of it because I listened to it on the radio. I went and watched a local football game, so
sure.
I'm bored of sitting at home. So from what I heard, I think Morosi played quite well. From what I've led to believe, he made a couple of great saves. McCallum made a huge difference when he came on, and Godden, once we went back to the box, seemed a bit more effective and had a couple of good chances. He was unlucky not to score.
Yeah.
I still think from what I've seen and listened to, I think Sheaf, there's still a big question mark over what his role in the team is.
Yeah, he's come in as a defensive player, Glenn. But do you feel, is he showing you enough defensively?
I just think it's a big ask if you're expecting a young lad who's not played at championship level before to be our defensive midfielder, probably against arguably the best footballing team that's in the league in Brentford, and probably by rights, if they hadn't thrown it away against Fulham in the playoff final, would be playing in the Premiership if they hadn't choked like they did at the end of the season. So, yeah, I think moving forward, I think McCallum comes in for Pask against Swansea.
It will be that Dabo's not fit. We obviously hope that it's not as serious, but if it was enough to keep him out of the squad today, you'd have to say it's probably going to be over a week.
Glenn, sorry, Glenn. I just wanted to ask you what your thoughts are. Do you see us scoring enough goals? And where do you see sort of longer term? With obviously we've got Walker. You assume he's been brought in to ultimately be a starter down the line, not just on the bench. How do you see us fitting them in and scoring enough goals down the season?
I think obviously the plan, because I caught a bit of Mark Robbins' interview on the way back after the game.
Sure.
From what I heard, he obviously seemed to have said that Walker and Godden was going to be the two, and then unfortunately, obviously Walker's come down with COVID test, and obviously that's thrown a spanner in the works.
Yeah.
By the sound of it,
disappointing that of a 14-day period.
Yeah. There's obviously, I think it would have been an ideal chance to give Godden and Walker a run out today, and obviously they have played well together. I think it's Stephen who's going back, and I just think he gives us that little bit of option. I'm not convinced Bakker and Godden are a long-term partnership. I probably would have been more inclined to give Birmu a run, but I guess the pecking order, unfortunately, Max is fourth choice. Obviously, he's now third choice, given the fact that Walker can't play for however many days it is he's out for. I just thought we're 2-0 down with 10 minutes to go. It's an ideal opportunity to give Castaner or Birmu 10 minutes. And once again, Robbins has seemed reluctant not to make, I suppose, a wild card sub. I suppose that's what I'd say about it. It's just, we've got nothing to lose. Why not give one of those two 10 minutes and see what we can do? Castaner's our player till January at least now. So if we're paying him his wages, why not give him a chance and just, he's a wild card, so what have we got to lose giving him a run out? I suppose we're 2-0 down. It's a nothing game. He's on the bench. Give him a run out.
Well, exactly, Glenn. And I guess the question I want to ask you is, because I'm a big Biamu fan, and you look at the end of last season, and Biamu actually fought his way into being the main sub alongside O'Hare at the back end of last season.
Yeah, and popped up with a lot of goals, didn't he, as well?
He scored the winner against Bolton last year. He scored against Southend. I mean, this season, Bakker's not played any minutes. Biamu's not played any minutes. So you'd argue that they should be on the same sort of match sharpness sort of level. Why do you feel that Robbins always seems to lean towards Bakayoko more than Biamu?
I don't know. I think obviously I wouldn't say has his favourites, but I don't know whether, obviously with Max, I don't know whether his face doesn't fit, or I just think Max offers you something different to back. I don't think
agree.
you can say they're like for like. I don't think any of I think Walker and Godden are very similar, but obviously Walker's got that pace factor. I think Backers more he'll work the channels, which is very similar to what Godden does as a lone striker, whereas Max, he is that little bit of a physical presence that you have, and he'll win headers. And I do think Max is somebody who can do a bit of magic, and I would always try and find a place for Max in our bench or in our squad of some form.
So Glenn, you're Mark Robbins, Tuesday night, big fixture, Swansea. They were unlucky not to go up probably last season and made a late charge for the playoffs. What is there any changes that you're making? I know you mentioned about Sam McCallum in for Pask if Dabo is not back fit, but any other changes? You may bring Biamu perhaps into the fold, or
I think if he wants, I think Swansea are going to play a lot of football, so I think we've got to get. I think probably our best chance is maybe to go back to the box and try and press them, and try and press them into a mistake. But I think we just need to believe in ourselves. I think Robin said that in the interview. We don't believe that we're as good as actually we are. I think we can't keep playing the game when we're a goal down and believe in it. We've got to believe. So I think Kelly comes back in. Probably it's Kelly maybe Kelly and Sheaf, and then it's O'Hare and Allen with Godden, and then you have Biamu and Bakker on the bench as your attacking options probably.
And hopefully Mark Robbins would be using those subs. Like you said, you felt he was a bit slow to perhaps make some changes.
Yeah, I just think it was a trait against the Bournemouth game that we're losing, and he brings McCallum on, and I think that's the one. Love the guy to bits. He's a great manager, but I just think sometimes is he the sort of manager when we're a couple goals down that he will make a substitution that will win us games, and that's the one criticism I would have on it is he a bit of a think outside the box and just throw caution to the wind on it sort of manager. I think he would maybe just play it a bit safe, but I didn't expect us to get anything from them today. I think maybe a lot of people, because obviously Brentford lost against Preston, that probably raised people's expectations. We might nick something, but given the fact we've lost Walker, we've lost Dabo, that's took a massive hole out of our team on it. So Glenn, I would say well on Tuesday night.
Do you, Glenn? Here's a question, because obviously we've been stuck with this sort of back five. Do you actually think that when Hamer's back from suspension, do you ever see us going back to a back four?
I would think that would be an option to consider on it. I just don't think that maybe Giles and Dabo are solid enough defensively to play in a back four as you would play both of them as your two fullbacks. I think maybe Dabo and McCallum you could probably get away with. I just don't think Giles has played enough in a back four to be solid enough on it. And that's nothing against Giles. I think he's a good player and he's going to get better the longer he is with us. But I think that has got to be an option that we consider if we're chasing games, that we go to a back four. I think we just need a plan B, but I don't know what our plan B is at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, it could be that Biamu comes on. We're not entirely sure. Glenn, really appreciate you coming on Sky Blues Extra Live again and speaking to us today. And let's hope that we can see a bit more of a spirited performance perhaps on Tuesday night. Thanks again, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
No worries, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.
Cheers. David, I just had a question for you, actually.
Of course.
It's been bugging me. I've been looking at the time, and I was like, you keep teasing me about your T-shirt. I keep seeing like a little head pop up and down. I just wondered what the T-shirt is.
Yeah, no, it's funny you should say that. So it's actually a new piece of merchandise that Sky Blues Extra going to be doing, running out a new collection. This one's Cyril Regis. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's Cyril Regis shirt, which is a new one, nice, and I'm sure we'll let followers and whatnot know about that at some point soon when they're ready to go. But yeah, I was lucky enough to get one first hands on one of them. So
nice.
We'll make sure we get one out to you, Ross, so that you can wear it on a future Sky Blues Live. But yeah, it's been great to have you on, Ross, on the first of the Sky Blues Extra Live. We've had some great comments from the followers, and they can, of course, join us again next week. Well, actually, we're not entirely sure whether we may be live on Wednesday. We're going to look at that. But regardless, whenever we do go live, make sure you do join us and give us your comments, because that's what our fan channel is about. And that's what we want. We want comments from Sky Blues fans so that we can see exactly how you guys are feeling about Coventry's start to the season. We've got a podcast, of course, coming out again. That'll be out on Monday, so do have a listen to that, where we'll go back through the fixture that Coventry City played today against Brentford and unfortunately resulted in a loss. But thanks again, Ross, for coming on and sharing your time with us.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. And Sky Blues fans, do get in touch with us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. You can use Sky Blues Extra hashtag. And again, like we say, join us next week, where we'll be talking more about the games that we've got coming up and both played. Let's hope that the Sky Blues can get a better performance against Swansea, and Mark Robins, who've of course got a bit more of a headache on his hands with the likes of Tyler Walker out. But it's going to be a tough fixture, but let's hope that the Sky Blues can perhaps get, another point or points on the board, and like Ross said, get further away from the teams such as Sheffield Wednesday and more.